Hi guys, Belle here. I am going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough on the Vengeance spec, which is the tank spec for the Demon Hunter. Let me go ahead and get this sucker activated. You guys have the distinct pleasure of having me see this for the first time. I'm on the max level server right now, but when I did the acquisition for the Legendary and for the Order Hall for the Demon Hunter, I did level as obviously damage. I did play Havoc. So in this video we are going to talk about the spells and talents of Vengeance. As far as tanking goes, Belle does not know how to tank, guys, so this is not going to be, I'm not going to be able to give you guys a lot of help here as far as when you can use what, because I don't know anything about tanking. I'm not even going to pretend to know anything about tanking and insult all of you beautiful, beautiful tanks out there. So let's talk about Vengeance. Obviously, with Demon Hunters, you got a lot of mobility here. You have your Metamorphosis, your melee damage, you get to utilize your Spectral Sight. They're huge damage dealers, and obviously those glaives are pretty badass. So let's talk about the basis for Vengeance. Shear, which is a melee attack that generates pain and sometimes creates a lesser soul fragment. Melee attacks that consume nearby soul fragments to heal you. Your Demon Spike consumes pain, increasing your chance to parry and reduce physical damage taken. Obviously, this is for tanks. Fury Brand reduces the damage taken from a single enemy in a short time. Immolation Aura damages nearby enemies over time and generates pain. Metamorphosis, obviously, this is specific to Demon Hunters only. They did remove the Metamorphosis ability from the Demonology Warlock so that this could be inherent strictly to the Demon Hunter and make them feel all nice and warm and all the fuzzies. So I'm trying to figure out here if this automatically equipped to the legendaries. It did. So this did automatically equip the legendaries. Once again, you do see your more concise menu here. Obviously, agility is going to be your primary most useful stat, and then in conjunction with your critical strike, versatility, and all that other good fun stuff. So let's look into the spell book here, just because this is a new class, this is a new spec. Your Sigil of Flame. Place a Sigil of Flame at the target location that activates after 2 seconds. This does deal fire damage and an additional amount of fire damage over 6 seconds to all enemies affected by the Sigil. So we're just going to go ahead and drop that right back down here. Your Sigil of Silence. Place a Sigil of Silence at the target location and activates after 2 seconds. This does silence all enemies. We're just going to drop that right there because I'm thinking this is probably going to be pretty useful when it comes to dealing with your PvP. You have your Torment, taunts the target. This, I do know that much about tanking, that you do have to keep your aggro on the target, and that's going to be part of that. Does increase the threat that you generate against the target for 3 seconds. Your passive ability, which is your Demonic Wards. Your Tattoos reduce magical damage taken by 10% and increases your stamina by 20% and your armor by 200. That's pretty legit. Soul Carver. Carve into the soul of your target, dealing fire damage and an additional amount of fire damage over 3 seconds. Now this immediately shatters 2 lesser soul fragments from the target and 1 additional lesser soul fragment every 1 second. Your double jump, obviously you guys know what that double jump is. It's pretty legit. I'll show you with this. That's your double jump ability. Does have the wings. Red Bull gives you wings. Now double jump gives you wings. You have your Soul Cleave. This obviously it's a cleave, so it does require a melee weapon. Viciously attack all enemies in front of you. And it does deal physical damage, and you do heal yourself for quite a bit. It does consume all soul fragments within 20 yards. Your Spectral Sight, this is going to be something that you're going to use when you're trying to see enemies. This is useful when you're doing solo content and you're trying to see what's behind the creepy lurking door. Your Throw Glaive does do pretty good amount of damage, especially if you use the talent that allows it to hit additional targets. Makes it pretty legit. Does physical damage. It can ricochet and hit 2 additional enemies within 10 yards, and it does generate high threat. So this is going to be an integral part of what I'm assuming is your taunt and your holding aggro ability. Then we've got obviously your Mastery Fellblood, your Demon spikes reduce physical damage taken by an additional 10%. This also does increase your attack power. And then you have your Shattered Souls, which is passive. Killing a target will sometimes shatter their soul, leaving a soul fragment behind for 20 seconds. And we've talked about these soul fragments. This is going to be worked into the rotation as far as tanking is concerned. So you want to make sure you mind those. Now, I did talk about this in the previous video when I did Havoc, but I'm going to go over it with you guys in case you didn't watch the Havoc video. These are going to be your racial, your touch of Balloon. This increases your haste, increases your critical strike depending on if it's day or night. You do have your weapon skills, your quickness, which does increase your dodge, melee, and ranged attacks by 2%, and your movement speed is increased by 2%. Nature resistance, obviously that's because you are a night elf, which is the only class that can play a demon hunter. So let's see if there's, I'm thinking that some of this stuff I'm actually going to need to have on my bar. I did put the soul cleave there. I do have the torment there. I'm trying to see if there's anything that I missed. Okay, so let's, oh, I did miss putting all this crap on my bar here so that I could show you. This is a pretty long cooldown. Imprisonment seems like it's going to be something pretty legit. I'm just going to put this here. I don't know what any of this means, guys. I'm just going to be clicking shit rampantly just so you guys could see what all this stuff does. Don't judge me. I don't melee. Sigil of Chains. I don't know if I talked about that actually. The Sigil of Chains. I think I might have skipped this whole page now that I think about it. I sure did. I skipped this whole page, guys. I'm sorry about that. Active mitigation, demon spikes. Surge with fell power, increasing your parry chance by 20%, reducing physical damage. I think we talked about that in the very beginning of the video. Let's just put all this crap on the bar so that we could just click shit, right? Because I'm a clicker. I'm probably, you know, we're into the clicking stuff. So we'll just put that on there. We have Infernal Strike, your darkness, summon darkness around you. I'm pretty sure this is what I showed in the Havoc video. I will show you guys what this specific ability does is summons darkness around you for an 8-yard radius, cloaking friends and targets. So this is basically a cloaking mechanism, and reduces the chance they are hit by spells and melee attacks by 30%, which is pretty cool. This could be used for a lot of different purposes, I'm thinking. So now that I went over that, let's go ahead and move into the talents. For the talents, you have Abyssal Strike. Infernal Strike range is increased by 10 yards and its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Blade Tuning, parrying an attack generates 5 pain. And Fracture, brutally slam your target for whatever amount based off, obviously, your level and your gear, physical damage, and shatters 2 lesser soul fragments from them. Not really sure which one you'll want to use. This is going to be part of learning how to tank as a demon hunter, which I did encounter when I was on the Warlock. I did encounter a demon hunter tank, and it didn't seem to be terrible, so I did like that. For the second set, you have your Agonizing Flames. Immolation Aura increases your movement speed by 30% and deals 100% increased damage. I'm thinking this is going to be super useful as a tank when you're having to move pretty quickly, if you're having to deal with kiting the boss or whatever mechanic might be needed for that. Quicken Sigils. All sigils activate 1 second faster and their range is increased by 10 yards. I'm thinking because of what the use is for the sigils, that might be something that could be pretty useful. The sigils seem very much like totems to me, so I think that's pretty cool. The Fell Eruption, this does impale the target for an extreme amount of chaos damage and stuns them for 2 seconds. This I talked about in the Havoc video. I'm thinking this is going to be really, really useful in PvP, and it does deal an additional 100% damage to targets that are permanently immune to stuns. Like it, legit, love it. I'm going to go ahead and use the sigils here because I'm thinking that this might be tank specific, and you might want to go ahead and use that. For Fellblade, this does require a melee weapon. You do charge at your target. You do deal quite a bit of fire damage. Sheer does have a chance to be reset, to reset the cooldown. It is a 14-second cooldown. That's not too terrible, but useful nonetheless. Soul Barrier, consuming a soul fragment while you are full health grants a shield that absorbs for quite a bit of damage. It does last 10 seconds. I'm thinking this is probably going to be really useful as a tank. Sustaining fatal damage, which is your last resort, instead transforms you into metamorphosis form. This also is going to be something that I think is going to be useful. The way that I read this, it makes me feel like it's DK's Purgatory as far as last resort. So this might be something that's pretty useful. Spirit Bomb, this is an instant ability. It does launch a nearby soul fragment at your target, exploding for a certain amount of shadow damage in a 6-yard radius. Now, damaged enemies become frail for 10 seconds. This does increase your chance to shatter lesser soul fragments from them with shear. Etched in Blood, every 20 pain that you spend reduces the remaining cooldown of your sigils by 1 second. I'm thinking this might be a super useful utility when you're tanking bosses in specific relation to being able to have better sigil management and being able to reduce that cooldown, which the cooldown on that is 30 seconds. So it only reduces by 1 second. This could make or break downing a boss, so I'd imagine it could be useful. Soul Rendering, you do gain 50% leech while Metamorphosis is active. This is another, I'm thinking this is a mitigation ability. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I don't tank, so the only thing I know about tanking is my friends that tank. Not really sure if I'm wrong about that. It's totally fine. The purpose of this video is just to show you what's here. Burning Alive, this is a passive ability. Every 2 seconds, your fiery brand deals an additional 18,000 fire damage and spreads from the primary target to nearby enemies. Concentrated sigils. All sigils are now targeted at your location, and the duration of their effects is increased by 2 seconds. Once again, I'm thinking that this could make or break some serious instances when you're downing a boss if you have them really, really close to being executed. Feast of Souls, your Soul Cleave heals you for an additional 70%. This is a really good mitigating spell. Anything that heals, of course, as a tank is going to be a really good for mitigation when it comes to allowing your healers to be able to heal the raid if needed. Brand of the Hunt, this is an instant ability. It does have a slightly large cooldown. Now you can brand the enemy with a demonic symbol, increasing the damage you deal to them by 10%. At any time, you can reactivate the Brand of the Hunt to immediately teleport to that target. That's pretty fucking cool, I'm not gonna lie. This ability does last for 1 minute, so that's pretty cool. The Sigil of Misery, place a sigil at the target location that activates after 1 second. Now this causes all enemies affected with the Sigil of Cower to fear, disorienting them for 30 seconds. I'm not gonna lie, I'd like to see this ability in PvP. I do plan on testing that actually because I think that that's gonna be pretty cool. Although you guys know my stance on PvP, I don't think you should be a tank in a PvP situation unless you're a flag carrier, but that's just my opinion. Razor Spikes. While Demon Spike is active, your physical damage dealt is increased by 20%, and your melee attack snare targets by 50% for 6 seconds. Not really sure what would be the most useful here out of all the situations. I'm just going to take the passive in this instance just to make it easier. Now your Fell Devastation unleashes the Fell within you. Now this is a channeled and it is on a 1 minute cooldown, but this does do a lot of damage. Just at the base power here that I have with the basic PvP gear that they do give you when you roll a max level on Legion for Alpha, it's almost 200,000 fire damage over 2 seconds. This does also heal you, so this is really, really good for mitigation. I'm thinking this feels like an oh shit button. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like that's what its intended use is. Now, the Nether Bond, bind yourself to a friendly player for 15 seconds. Every 1 second, the health of you and your target is redistributed such that you are at the same percentage of the maximum health. That's pretty cool. Feed the Demon, consuming a soul fragment reduces the remaining cooldown of your Demon Spike by 1 second. Probably gonna, I don't know. I want to test both of these really. The Fell Devastation seems like it's going to be pretty fun for me. So I try to stick with a lot of the passive abilities just because it's less stuff that I have to deal with. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and, what do you think we should go here with? I think we'll just stick with the I think we'll stick with the soul rending just to see how that works. And then the Feast of Souls, which is pretty cool. You guys know what Feast of Souls is because that is a mechanic when you're fighting Gorfine in Hellfire Citadel. Soul Cleave heals you. I guess we'll pick that passive ability. I think I'm pretty happy with what I have here. Trying to make sure that there's nothing I need to pull down onto my bar except the channeled ability. So we could actually probably go and check out some of these abilities that we do have. Look at this gentleman over here. That's a Death Knight. He looks pretty cool. Wow, look at that. All right. So let's, first I want to see Sigil of Silence. I want to see what these things do here, because I'm interested. Oh, gotta love Alpha. I'm just gonna show you guys some of the things that happen here. Another Sigil. Empower wards. Here's your Metamorphosis. It's beautiful. We love it. That was cool. Like all these things, guys. I'm loving, literally loving all this stuff. So this is actually your shear, which is your, this does generate pain. Your torment, of course, is your taunt. Yeah, I like all of these things, guys. I don't tank. That much is freaking clear. But the double jumping, all the utility that you do have, because you have so much mobility, which allows you to really maximize your use here and really be as mobile as humanly possible. I think that's just inherent with any melee class, but this seems like it's a lot more fun to do and be and move. It's also been nice to see some different spell animations than the same stuff we've been looking at for so many years, so pretty happy about that. Not really sure how much fun it is to tank with. Those of you watching the video that do tank with other classes, you'll be able to answer that. If you are a tank and you do want to tell me if it is equally as fun and it looks fun for you, please comment on the video and let me know. Since I'm not a tank, I don't really know what's going to be fun and what's not going to be fun. But this seems pretty cool. Like all the animations and stuff that's happening on my screen, it does make for a non-boring event when you're doing things. I want to, this in prison situation, I want to see what this does. I'm super curious about it now. Oh, this is your glide. You have to actually be, yeah, you have to be in the air in order to be able to pop your glide. It is pretty useful. It's, I think we talked about it being similar to a slow fall. And here's your spectral sight once again. This does let you see, I'll give you a nice little sight there. It does let you see enemies that you can't necessarily see in front of you. Once you start moving, of course, it does disappear, but it's nice in any way, and you know, you can definitely make use of it. It does have a 30-second cooldown, so make sure if you're utilizing it for leveling or whatever you might be doing. This is probably also really good for looking at mobs when you're in a dungeon or a raid, to be able to see how many of what you're dealing with is around the corner. So that's what we have for the Vengeance Demon Hunter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know much about tanking, so I probably wasn't much help as far as what's good or bad, but those of you that are world-class tanks out there already know the answer to those questions just based off what I have shown you. If you're watching this video, if you're watching on your phone, maybe you're in the tub, maybe you're in the potty, effective toilet time, you're already here on the channel, you're already looking on the video, do me a huge favor and just hit that like button. Show me that you care, show me that you love me, and show me that I mean more to you than just a simple YouTube view. Make sure you comment on the video if you have any questions. I will be doing all of the classes and specs, so be looking out for those. I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, and if you're new to the PWNCAST channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button.